or what should be the feature for the Silver and Black on Sunday versus Jacksonville? That plus more on Friday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for December 20th, 2024.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. We definitely appreciate you, whether you're catching us wherever you find your favorite podcast or you're checking us out on the YouTube page. We definitely appreciate that. Of course, the show continues to grow each and every day, and that's because of your support and the job that my man Ari's doing behind the scenes on the YouTube page, making it go each and every day. Over 16,000 subscribers. We definitely appreciate that. You can check out Ari on Twitter at Ari Produces. I'm on Twitter as well, as many of you know, at your boy Q254. And if you want to be a part of the show, the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line is 707-654-4693. We'll close out the show with your calls and texts. Didn't get any on Thursday's show because we had the crossover edition with Tony Wiggins from Locked On Jaguars. Did a fantastic job with that show, so hopefully you enjoyed that. I know many of you did. Plenty of people reached out to me and said, hey, that was a really good crossover, probably one of the best ones all year long, so we always like to hear that. And like I said, definitely enjoy the time that I had with Tony Wiggins for the crossover edition, but we didn't have any calls and texts. We'll get back to that today as we close out the week really strong. That'll come up in segment number 3. Segment number 2, who or what will be the feature coming up on Sunday? We could talk about path to victory, what the Raiders have to do. I think at this stage of the game, with the team being 2-12 and 3 games left to go, I think we know what they need to do, but what are they going to do? And who is going to do it is probably the bigger, conversation piece to have. So we'll do that in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Here in segment number 1, news and notes of the day. We'll jump right into it after I tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is Hillsdale College. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. So before we get into the news and notes, I did get a text from my guy Dan from Manteca. He said, hey, Q, I was hoping you can give a birthday shout out to my son who's turning 11 on Friday the 20th, surprising him by taking him out to the game against Jacksonville. It'll be our first game in Vegas. Was hoping it's going to be a more meaningful game, but it is what it is. Hope to meet you before the game. Thanks again. Go Raiders. And then he said, oh, by the way, my son's name is Dalen. So I'm glad that he hit me back and let me know what his son's name is. But the only question I have, Dan, is it a surprise anymore that he's going to the game now that I just said it on the show? Like, is he listening right now, and now does he know that you're taking him to the game, or did he already know? Hopefully I didn't ruin the surprise, or maybe if I did, maybe it's a happy birthday surprise at the same time. But, yeah, shout out to Dalen. Happy birthday to you. 11 years old. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the experience at Allegiant Stadium. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, yes, I insist that you meet me at the Torch. I'll be there, 2 hours? No, hold on. 3. Hold on. I got to get it correct. All right. 2 hours before kickoff is the pregame show with JT and Eric Allen. I'll do my show 1 hour ahead of them. So my show will start at 10 o'clock, and I'll be up there around the Torch up until about 15 minutes before kickoff, and then I'll make my way to the press box. So please, if you guys do have the opportunity, Dan and Dalen, please make your way to the Torch. I'd love to hang out with you, chop it up, talk a little Raider football, and give Dalen a big happy birthday. So there you go. Big shout out off top of the show. And it's funny, Dan, that you hit me up about birthdays. Today's Mama Q's birthday, too. So she's not turning 11. She's not probably going to go to the game on Sunday at Allegiant Stadium, but big happy birthday to her as well. So let's go ahead and jump into the news and notes, the injury report from Thursday. The Raiders injury report is kind of clean, and for the most part, the big-time players for the Silver and Black are already on the IR, so I guess that's one of the reasons why, that the injury report is pretty clean, but did not participate. Jordan Meredith, the guard, he's dealing with the ankle injury on Wednesday and Thursday, DNP, so he's been a big-time participant on that Raiders offensive line. I would say I don't think it's a big deal at this stage of the game. He'll be good to go on Sunday, but last time I said that, we got a injury report on Saturday about Max Crosby, and he was out, and then he ultimately was out for the season. So I'm not going to say that about Jordan Meredith. We'll see what happens, but he's been a big key cog, really played well next to Colton Miller and next to Jackson Powers-Johnson. So hopefully he's able to go. I like to see that offensive line stay consistent for the last handful of weeks like it has. I think that they're getting better and better, but they're going to need Jordan Meredith out there. So he was the only DNP on Thursday. Limited was Jacoby Myers with the ankle injury, but he's been working that pretty well, so I feel pretty comfortable there. And then Sam Webb with the back injury, the cornerback, he was limited as well, and he was a guy that didn't go. He was inactive last week on Monday against the Falcons. Probably end up being inactive again, but the one to pay attention to for sure is Jordan Meredith. Now, couple roster moves that the Raiders made on Wednesday, and I wasn't able to go over them on Thursday, as again, it was the crossover edition. Max Crosby and Sincere McCormick, I mentioned guys on IR. Both of those guys went to IR. And for Max Crosby, obviously this was not the season that he was looking forward to. He was looking for a season that could potentially put him in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year, and unfortunately it just didn't happen. But in the games that he played, and he played in 12 games this season, he was top 5 in pressures, second in tackles for loss with 17. He missed 2 games, 7.5 sacks, 28 split tackles, 45 total tackles, 5 PBUs, pass breakups, and 20 quarterback hits in 12 games. So, again, not the season that Max Crosby wanted, but that was the season that he had. And obviously he's been put on IR. He had the tightrope ankle surgery, and he's on the road to recovery. And we know he'll be back ready to go, better than ever for the start of the next season. But unfortunately, his season comes to a close, and Sincere McCormick talked about him the other day when he took to social media and said that he was out. Unfortunate for him, it's just been the story of his career. Every opportunity he gets to get out there on the grass, and this was his real first game action in the NFL, is cut short because of an ankle injury, and it puts him out the rest of the season. So clearly, if he is a part of the mix moving forward next season, he's going to have to be just part of the mix. He's not the main guy because, again, he's got to be able to stay healthy, and he hasn't been able to do that as of yet. Also, the Raiders signed running back Chris Collier and defensive end Andre Carter to the active roster. Collier joined the Raiders practice squad in Week 12 after originally signing with the Ravens as an undrafted free agent, was named an AFCA Division First-Team All-American in his final collegiate season at Lock Haven back in 2023. He recorded 1,393 rushing yards, 12 TDs, in addition to 22 catches for 238 yards and 3 scores. But as you know, the running back room is getting real thin now Sincere McCormick is on IR. Also, Andre Carter added to the active roster. He joins the Raiders from the Vikings practice squad, 6'6", 256-pound defensive end. Originally signed as an undrafted free agent with the Vikings in 2023. Saw action in 12 games as a rookie. Played collegiately at Army, where he finished second in the FBS with 15.5 sacks in 2021 and earned third-team All-American honor. And it's funny, a lot of people are talking about Andre Carter, and they say, oh, yeah, he gets to go play for his dad, because Andre Carter is, one of the coaches on staff there with the Silver and Black. And it's funny, I remember that situation when he was at the Combine in India, and me and Vinny Bonsignor were there doing shows for Raider Nation Radio 920, and I kept saying, is that Andre Carter, the football player that, went to Cal and played for the Raiders and was in the league for a while? Is that his son? And Vinny's like, man, I don't know. Let's do some investigating. That's actually not his son. Andre Carter 2 is not Andre Carter's son. So as many people that might tell you that, oh, he's playing for his son or his dad with the Raiders, he's not. That's not his son. So just want to go ahead and clear that up real quick, because, again, it is a misconception that's out there. And like I said, I thought it at one point as well. I thought, oh, yeah, he's, that's got to be his dad. No, it's not. So there's that. But that's the news and notes, just a little bit of housekeeping right there when it goes to the Silver and Black and what's going on as far as their roster, the way that they've, put their roster together with so many guys now currently on IR. So what is it that I'm going to be looking for on Sunday when the Jacksonville Jaguars come to Allegiant Stadium? Who and what should be the main focus? We'll talk about that in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about a couple great sponsors on the show, including Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars with a B in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. And it is the best place to get that real money sports action in over 30 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. They even offer a MasterCard right now for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. And right now, if you join this holiday season, Prize Picks is going to give away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. That's right. They're calling it Picksmas. So what do you have to do to get that? Well, I'm glad you asked. Download the app today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL. You get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. I also want to tell you about the college football playoffs. And yeah, buddy, it is that time of year. The college football playoff is back, and with the newly expanded 12-team format, guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, that is tomorrow, starting with the College Football Playoff Kickoff Show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into the first matchup, which is SMU versus Penn State. That's right, Southern Methodist University, the Mustangs, battling the Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers, Dabo Swinney and company, look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the College Football Playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Earlier in the season, in this part of the show, and especially on a Friday before a game, I'd always talk about keys to victory. What do the Raiders need to do to come away with the win? Well, I played it out and laid it out plenty of times, and clearly they only came away with 2 wins. So either it was me or them or a combination of the two. It just didn't happen very often. So at this stage of the game, obviously we know they're not making a playoff run. We don't think that they're going to be spoiling anything for anyone anytime soon, and especially Jacksonville. There ain't nothing to spoil for Jacksonville. They've won 3 games. The Raiders have won 2. So what is intriguing about this game? What is it that's going to get you to sit down on the couch or head to Allegiant Stadium or go to your local sports bar or listen to it on the radio? What is it about this game? Well, I've got a few things that I want to focus in on. And the first one is the return of Aiden O'Connell. He's a guy who I thought was done after he took that hit in Tampa Bay when he went down on that knee and it looked like he was done for the season. He went out on a cart, had an air cast. I mean, it looked like it was all bad, right? And so he's coming back. He only missed 1 game. He's been a full participant in practice all week long. And what I've been saying and what many others have been saying is that they want to see him get the fair shot at proving what he can or cannot be for this team. So there's 3 games left. I'm hoping Aiden O'Connell gets a start in all 3 games. I know some people are talking about Carter Bradley, but unless Aiden O'Connell can't go, I don't need to see Carter Bradley. Now, if Aiden O'Connell for some reason can't go, then cool, because I'd rather see Carter Bradley than Desmond Ridder. We saw enough Desmond Ridder on Monday. I think we already know what he is, but do want to see the return of Aiden O'Connell. I do think he gives the team the best chance to win. I do think he gives them an opportunity to actually be in rhythm, as far as the offense goes, able to get the ball to the playmakers. And you saw on Monday Night Football with Desmond Ridder, it was tough sledding trying to get the ball to the playmakers. So Aiden O'Connell's first job, his number 1 job, how when they say you only have 1 job and you can't fail it, get the ball to Brock Bowers. I want to see a minimum of 10 targets to Brock Bowers. And I'm not just saying that he's got to be the only target each and every snap, but you know what? He's on the brinks of making history. He's got 90 catches for 968 yards and 4 touchdowns in his rookie year. 105 catches is the record by Puka Nacua as far as receptions in a rookie year. That is obtainable in the next 3 games. Hell, that's obtainable for 1 really good Brock Bowers game, right? I mean, he can get 15 catches in a really good game. I'm not expecting him to do that, but I think that it's all bad if the Raiders don't target him at least 10 times. I heard Antonio Pierce talking to JT the Brick on, what day was it? Wednesday, when they were at the Raider facility. He does his show on YouTube, and AP said, oh, he's going to get those milestones. We're going to make sure he hits those milestones. So AP clearly has given the marching orders to Scott Turner. Make sure that Brock Bowers is dialed up. Now, it's obviously a lot more difficult to give him the ball than just saying they're going to give him the ball because he is the number 1 weapon. 89 is the guy that everyone that plays the Raiders has to know where he's at all times because he's their best weapon. But with that being said, I think Scott Turner knows how to dial it up and get him open. And I know Aiden O'Connell knows how to get him the ball. So first and foremost, just being greedy. Just wanted to see this because, again, the season has stunk, but that's a hell of a milestone if he could achieve it, is getting that rookie record as far as receptions goes. I want to see him at 106. I want to see him at 110, to be honest, but, 106 sooner rather than later. That's only averaging, just over 5 catches a game? He could do that. I'd like to see him get at least 10 targets coming up on Sunday. That's the first thing I'll be looking at. So Aiden O'Connell, as far as the the quarterback play goes, he'll be under center. Brock Bowers, get him at least 10 targets. And then from the running back position, I'd like to see Dylan Lobby, the rookie out of New Hampshire, the 6th-round pick, get a little bit of burn, right? Sincere McCormick is now out. So we know that it's going to be the Amir Abdullah show. You're going to see Alexander Madison. He's returning to action as well. But why not sprinkle in some Dylan Lobby? Even if you're not just handing him the ball in the backfield, dump it off to him. Right? Get some easy catches, some easy completions. That's what he was known for at New Hampshire, was catching the ball in the backfield. And that's something that I thought he was going to do a lot of this rookie year, and it just never came to fruition. Obviously, when he got the first opportunity to carry the rock against Pittsburgh, he fumbled, and that was one of those, put him in the doghouse. But he's done good to battle back from that. We've seen him on special teams, but sprinkle him in a little bit. I'm not saying him get 10, 15 carries, not saying any of that, or take Sincere McCormick's load, but a couple carries here and there or a couple passes out of the backfield is not going to hurt. I'd like to see him get a little bit of burn offensively. Flipping it over to the defensive side of things. 3 guys, Tyree Wilson, K'Lavon Chaisson, and Adam Butler. I want to see those guys. I want to focus in on those guys in particular. Tyree is up to 4 sacks this season. And I'll say right now, what Tyree Wilson is doing, and this is not something that's going to be sustainable in the National Football League, but as he's still trying to get his feet under him, as he's still trying to get comfortable with what to do in the league, he's really just – he's going out there using his athletic ability. I mean, when he was at Texas Tech, he was a man amongst boys, right? So he was able to go out there and just kind of overpower everybody and get it done. Well, the league is different. Everybody is the best of the best. Everyone's a man amongst boys, right? And there's a lot of men out there. So he's just trying to figure it out. But you see he's starting to come around. So he's up to 4 sacks this season. There's still 3 games. There's no Max Crosby. There's no Malcolm Koonce. So there's going to be a lot of heavy lifting for him. Charles Snowden, I don't think he's going to be active this week. He's the one that got arrested on suspicion of DUI. Don't think the Raiders are going to put him out there. So you're going to see a lot of Tyree Wilson. He's been playing a lot of the backup role this season, but he's now slid into the starting spot. He's got to start. So I want to see him continue to grow. These last 3 games could be very valuable for Tyree Wilson. So I'm not expecting him to, just be earth-shattering and all of a sudden be some superstar. Just want to see him get better and better and better. The better he gets the next 3 games, the better he will be and the Raiders will be in 2025 with him. The book is not closed on Tyree Wilson. This is only his 2nd year in the National Football League. Adam Butler, I mentioned Tyree up to 4 sacks. Adam Butler's up to 3.5 sacks. Adam Butler is a guy that talked to us in training camp when we were in Costa Mesa, and he said, I want to be out there on the field. I want to be a 3-down guy. I don't want to be a guy that just comes in as a 3rd-down specialist. I want to be out there all the time. Well, little did he know Christian Wilkins was going to go down, be put on IR, and miss the rest of the season. So Adam Butler's been thrown into action where him and John Jenkins are the starters in the interior of that Raiders defensive line. And Adam Butler is answering the call. I was so glad to see him out there when he was suffering that concussion. I didn't know if he was going to clear concussion protocol in time to play. It was great to see him out there on Monday, and he was making impact plays. Adam Butler is a guy whose motor does not quit. And he's been not only a leader on the field, he's been a leader off the field for this team as well. When they go through adversity, one of the guys that speaks the loudest in the locker room is Adam Butler. And I know he's not a household name. I know he's not some superstar that you're going to see on the marquee when the commercial's playing for the Raiders, but he's a guy that's, like I said, a big-time contributor. He's a guy that has a big-time voice in that locker room, and his leadership has been needed on the field and off the field. So I want to see Adam Butler in that interior part of the Raiders defensive line continue to thrive. So paying attention to where number 9 is, pay attention to where number 69 is, who's Adam Butler. 44, Chaisson. He comes over from the Jacksonville Jaguars, who, oh, by the way, is a team coming into town. So he's playing his former team, similar to what Desmond Ridder did on Monday against the Falcons, played against his former team. Chaisson was a first-round pick of the Jaguars. It didn't work out there. It's starting to come around and work out for the Raiders. He's got 3 sacks and an interception this season. Chaisson never had 3 sacks in any season in Jacksonville. Think about this. This is his 5th year in the league. He never once had 3 sacks in the same season. He's had 3 sacks in 12 games with the Silver and Black so far. And that's getting used to a system, being used sparingly early. Remember, he was signed to the practice squad when they picked him up off waivers. So he had to work his way off the practice squad into the starting lineup. And with all the injuries, it kind of got fast-tracked a little bit. But already has 3 sacks, has had impactful plays. He's got to stay on sides, right? He can't jump off sides like he does, I don't want to say quite a bit, but he does every so often. But he's been an impact player as well. 3 sacks in 12 games. Never once in his 4 years in Jacksonville did he have 3 sacks in a season. So I'd like to see him continue to grind and continue to show his worth and tell Tom Telesco, hey, yeah, I'm a guy that you can re-sign and I can be valuable to this Raiders team when Max Crosby comes back, when Malcolm Koonce potentially comes back, when Christian Wilkins comes back, when Tyree Wilson has some more burn under his belt. Like all of a sudden, you can start to see a nice little arsenal along that defensive line, but everyone's got to get right. And that's why I'm looking at Tyree, I'm looking at Chaisson, and I'm looking at Adam Butler. Those are the 3 on the defensive side of the ball I'm really paying attention to. Offensively, Aiden O'Connell, Brock Bowers, of course, and Dylan Lobby. Those are the 3 I want to look at on the offensive side. So that will be where my focus is. Whether they win, lose, whatever the case may be, my focus will be on those 6 individuals, 3 on offense and 3 on defense. Because, again, those guys can be key contributors, not only the rest of the way this season, but also moving forward with the silver and black. All those guys, for the most part, are still relatively young. Adam Butler being the guy that's been in the league the longest. So outside of that, everyone else really could grow with this team, and the Raiders are going to need as much growth and as much young, productive players as possible moving forward. So that's what my focus is on coming up on Sunday, Jacksonville versus the Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. What's on your mind? Your calls and texts are next. 707-654-4693. Segment number 3 of your Locked On Raiders podcast is coming up. Before I get to that, though, I do want to tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through some mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? History, economics, the great works of literature, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution. You may have studied these things in school, or maybe you were supposed to, and you didn't really get around to it. Maybe you were like me. Well, our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including Constitution 101, Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic, The Great American Story, A Land of Hope, and many, many more. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or sit back and enjoy the lectures. Right now, go to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. There's no excuses. It's no cost. hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts are off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Let's start off with a text from Trisha from Utah. She says, "Hey, Q, Trisha from Utah, and this is my first time texting in. First, I may not have been a Raider fan from birth, but I've been a fan since Hostetler was the quarterback and will be a fan till the end. I've been listening to you since the start of the season, and I love the podcast. My son turned me on to Locked On. Even though he's a fan of another team, I'm grateful he did. I just wanted to say today's crossover edition was my favorite one so far. The interaction you had with the Jags host had me smiling all the way to work. So thank you for all that you do. I'll continue to listen every morning on my way to work. Go Raiders." That's from Trisha in Utah. And thanks so much for the text. I appreciate you. And yeah, Tony Wiggins is a great dude. And it's funny, got tons of feedback, got a lot of tweets about Tony and the interactions, and that the show was really good. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it as well. I don't get to catch up with Tony too often. Matter of fact, the very first time when I started on the show many moons ago, we were supposed to catch up, but I wasn't able to get a hold of him. He wasn't able to get a hold of me, so I had to do something differently. And we made sure that after that, we're like, man, we'll never not be able to catch up with each other. So he had to dip out because he had a little vacation planned or a trip planned. So he made sure he reached out to me early to make sure we could do that show. So I'm very thankful that he did and appreciate the fact that you enjoyed it as well. So thanks so much for that text. Appreciate you. Up next, got a call from Dominique from the Show Me State. He's calling to talk about rookie Dylan Lobby and what his role might be in 2025.
Hey, Q, this is Dominique from the Show Me State. How you doing? Just got a quick question. I was thinking about a guy on our roster, Dylan Lobby. What do you think about next year having him move to wide receiver permanently instead of running back? I know him coming out of New Hampshire, he was more of a receiving back threat, more than a pure running back. He had great receiving stats. He's got great hands, a good route runner. But I think next year, whoever is the coach or whoever comes in, I think he should be a guy that could possibly be moved to wide receiver full time, especially in the slot. I think that'll work out a lot better for him trying to make the roster than trying to make the roster as a pure running back. I don't think he's a pure running back at all. But just let me know what you think about that. I was just thinking about that because he's not getting any burn or anything. But I think as a receiver, that could, be a good development thing for him in the long run. Just let me know what you think about it, Q. Appreciate you, man. Have a great day. I'll be listening as always. Bye-bye.
Dominique from the Show Me State. It's so funny. I used to say that all the time. I used to tell my mom and anyone who listens, show me, man. Act like I'm from the Show Me State. Show me. Right? Someone will say something. I'll be like, yeah, huh? Act like I'm from the Show Me State. I don't know. That was just my go-to, but it's good to hear from you. Thanks for the call. And yeah, as I mentioned in segment number 2, man, Dylan Lobby is interesting, right? He's a guy that I expected to get a ton of looks this season. I thought he was going to probably take the role of Amir Abdullah. Clearly, it's not that easy just to slide into the NFL and be that guy. But yeah, he has a chance. And that's why I said I want to see a lot of him. Not a lot of him. I would like to see him offensively coming up on Sunday, and maybe the next few games he can get a little bit more burn, and then he can have a role, like a defined role in 2025. Obviously, he does really well when it comes to special teams. That's how I knew that his butter was going to get bread, or his bread was going to get buttered originally when the season started, but I was always wondering how much role he'd have offensively. So I don't know if he needs a position switch. I just think that he needs an opportunity to show what he can do from that position, right? I mean, catching the ball in the backfield is what he does really well, and he did really well at New Hampshire. So I think he can still have that role, kind of like an Austin Eckler role, and that's kind of what, when Tom Telesco drafted him, that's kind of what a lot of people were talking about. Like, that was the comp, and he was going to be used like Austin Eckler was used with the Chargers when Tom Telesco was the GM there. So you're on to something, though. Dylan Lobby, I definitely think, has a role, and we'll see what he can do not only this week, but the rest of the season. So thanks so much for that call. I do appreciate you. Up next, got a text from John in South Bay, LA. Says, hey, Q, first off, much love to you and Ari for carrying. You guys are getting us through one of the worst seasons of Raider football ever. You're essentially a big part of many of our work days. It's a crazy obligation, and for one, I appreciate you. I was like, you hoping and believing that AP would be the coach to lead this team to wins, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem like he's the one. Clearly, he got the team to play better than the sterile and lifeless Josh McDaniels-led teams. The team played hard for AP despite their shortcomings and generally kept games close. They at least used to play with the passion and emotion. If you break down AP's tenure with the Raiders, it always felt like they went into the fight with one arm tied behind their backs. Whether it was due to injury, lack of talent, scheme, in-game decisions, or whatever the case, it never really felt like AP led the team on a level playing field against other opponents. It never felt like they were expected to win. As the season's gone on, the feeling's gotten worse. It's not about if the Raiders are going to lose, but by how much. What was troubling about the Falcons game was, one, the vacant seats, and two, fans weren't even booing that weak display. We're talking about a fan base that would throw $20 nachos and beers at their team when they underperform. We're talking about one of the most passionate fan bases all in sports, and they couldn't even muster enough energy to boo. What was truly a trash product. That's a real problem. Can I ask, and maybe I missed it, but did we get a thank you, Lord, Monday night? The greatness of the Raiders is in the future. Q, bonus points for you if you strike up the Al Davis impression. Raider Nation for life, John from the South Bay in L.A. And, yeah, I can't do the impression of Al Davis. I do a really good Jerry Jones, but I can't do the Al Davis impression. But Jerry Jones, I got that. John, you can't throw nachos. You can't throw a beer on the field. John, that costs money. The team, they stink. But the nachos, you can't throw. Yeah, I can do a Jerry Jones. I like my Jerry Jones. I can't do it now. But to your point, it was a bizarre game on Monday. It really was. It felt so, I don't know, just like the energy wasn't there. The vibe wasn't there. It just felt strange and like I said, bizarre. It just felt like the weight of the season was too much. The guys never quit, that's for sure. Like, I don't ever want it to get twisted. The guys didn't quit. It just felt like the life wasn't there the way it should have been. And it just felt like a lot was weighing down on these guys' shoulders. I don't know what's going to happen at the end of the season. It's not trending well, clearly, for AP. As he mentioned the other day, he's under contract for 2025. That's all he could really say. That's all he really knows. He'll get sat down and evaluated at the end of the season. And if Mark Davis and Tom Brady and the powers that be want him back, they'll bring him back. If they don't, they won't. I mean, it's just that simple. We can sit here and debate it all day long, but he's got to prove why he should come back next year and what he's going to do that's clearly not going to make this team look like this team looks this year, because it's just, it's a production-based business. He says it all the time, and the team's just not producing what ultimately what matters, which is wins. But thanks so much for the text. I do appreciate you. Maybe one day I'll work on the Al Davis impression, but right now you're stuck with Jerry Jones. Sorry, John. No, anyway, just having a good time. Up next, got a call from Northwest Raider. Now I got my voice all messed up. See, I can't be doing that. It messes up my voice. You can't get it back. Once you go, Jerry, you can't get it back. I might have to do the rest of the show by way of Jerry. No, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, Northwest Raider, he's calling to talk about the crossover edition with Tony Wiggins, talking week 16, Jaguars and Raiders. Here he is, Northwest Raider.
Q, what up? This is your boy, the Northwest Raider. Just calling in, kind of off topic a little bit. I don't usually talk about the Raiders and all the heartache and stress and whatnot. I just want to say this crossover edition has by far been the best one. Tony Wiggins, man, I think so far I've listened to all the crossovers. Like, this cat is the only one that kind of match your energy. Like, the description of the game, the insight, the knowledge, but how the both of you presented it and made it colorful and entertaining and knowledgeable all at the same time. just kind of keeps you kind of enthralled in the conversation. So I just want to give a shout out to you and Tony Wiggins. It was a fantastic show. There was no BS about making excuses about how the Raiders are 2-12 and the Jags are 3-11. Not hiding behind anything, telling it how it is. And it was fun to listen to. So that's what my call's about today. We got plenty of time to talk about the Raiders any other time, and before we start the stress. But anyway, keep a shout out to you. Keep doing what you do. We appreciate it. Appreciate Tony and the commentary that both y'all had in your interactions, the way you guys bantered with each other. Anyway, it was cool, man. Thought I'd give it that little shout out to you guys. All right, have a good one. As always, man, just win, baby. Raiders.
Thank you so much for the call. And like I said to Trisha when she texted in, yeah, he was fantastic. It was great to catch up with him. So, again, so many people really did appreciate that crossover. I'm glad you did. And, again, he was one of the better ones for sure, one of my favorite ones this year. So thanks for the call, Northwest. Definitely appreciate you. Up next, got a text from Omar in San Antonio. Says, hey, Q, it's Omar from San Antonio. Big kudos to Raider Nation for tuning in and you working every day despite this nightmare season. Here are some thoughts. One, remember we laughed at analysts when they predicted us to lose 10 games? Yeah, I do. Two, the Jags guy yesterday hit the nail on the head. This season was really prepped up to be a one-year fix. Three, overall pick should be generational. I know we need a quarterback, but is Sanders generational? Is Cam? Is Hunter? Get some more picks and get Genty. Dude had double the stats of Reggie Bush and got snubbed. Hunter is 5th on PFF's corner list and 6th in wide receiver stats. He's fun to watch, though. Get Gabriel or Dart later. Gabriel has a ton of experience like Knicks did. 4, AP had injuries and no quarterback. I get it. But he had horrible game management and waited to fire Getsy. 5, new coach should be a proven winner. I vote Vrabel. His 4 or 6 winning seasons is double what we've had in 20 years. He's only the second coach I vote for. No more newbies. 6 is evaluation season. Why are they starting Taylor, Eichenberg? Why aren't they starting Taylor, Eichenberg, or Bernie? 7, Telesco is great at talent, bad at finding head coaches. Let Tom pick the coach. Finally, Q, do you think Spillane, Merrick, Hobbs come back if AP is gone? Thanks for the time and energy reading this text, Q. That's Omar in San Antonio, and thanks for the text. That was a lot. One, I'll just go straight to the quarterback. If you need a quarterback, and I believe Tom Brady believes in Shador, if he's the guy, you got to go get him. You can't sit there and say, well, you got to wait for that generational dude. How do you know that you're going to get a chance at that generational dude? You can't just keep trying to put a Band-Aid on a situation that's been needing fixing. Cam Ward is a really good quarterback. Shador is a really good quarterback. Is he, the second coming of Andrew Luck? Probably not, but he's a guy that can make plays on Sundays. And so I have no doubt if the Raiders were to get a top pick and then they get Ashton Genty, even though he's a phenomenal talent, that would be, you want to talk about the biggest reach, right? I mean, again, a fantastic talent at the running back position, but if you need a quarterback and everything else that the Raiders need, and they go and get with their first pick, Ashton Genty, even if they trade back a little bit, that's not good business. That's not the way to go. Travis Hunter is fantastic, by the way. He plays both sides of the ball. He would be great. And I know PFF, I know they got their grading scale, but this guy went over 1,100 plus yards receiving, had double-digit touchdowns, had multiple interceptions, had multiple pass breakups. This dude could do a lot. Is he going to do all that in the NFL? No, but he's a fantastic player as well. And with that being said, I still say you got to go get your quarterback. You can't pass up on your quarterback just because he's not every bell and whistle. It doesn't check the boxes, right? It's like going to the Cadillac dealership. He's a really good, high-priced Cadillac. He might not have every single feature that you'd like, right? But he's got a lot of them. He's got a lot of the great features that'll help you win a lot of games, a lot more than you're winning right now. As far as, Tom Telesco and who's picking a head coach if AP is not brought back, well, Telesco didn't pick AP. AP was hired before Telesco. That was one of the things that was supposed to not happen. It was supposed to be the GM and then the coach, but obviously that got switched up. I don't know about who's going to hire the coach if AP is let go. I'm sure Tom Brady's going to have a say in it. Mark Davis will have a say in it. They'll have a committee that's a part of it again, if that in fact does come to fruition. And as far as Spillane, Merrick, Hobbs coming back if AP's gone, if the money's right, they'll all come back. If Telesco wants them back. If they're trying to sign them to a contract extension and the money's right, they'll all come back, right? Hobbs will definitely come back, especially with his injury history. Merrick, I don't know what his free agency money would look like since he hasn't had a ton of ball production. And Robert Spillane, I think you can easily put a year or two more on his deal and he'd be ready to go. So there's that. But like you said, that was a very, very lengthy text there. So I do appreciate you. And with that being said, we'll close out with a call from Ernest from Cali. He's calling to talk about AP, his thoughts on what happened this season, and really more what has not happened. Here he is, Ernest from Cali.
Hi, this is Ernest calling out of California. I've been a lifelong Raider fan, starting back since probably about the Lyle Alzado days. But just want to say a big fan of the show, Q. Let's just say you keep it real, and so keep up the good work. I just got a quick comment here. There are some AP fans out there, and I'm one of them. And I think it's just been unfair for the guy for quite a few reasons. I'll list a few. First, the obvious, he's got no quarterback. They thought they were going to have one, maybe a stopgap there, a Band-Aid, so to speak, with this guy that they got from that, I can't even think of his name right now, but Minshew, and that didn't work out. But I want to know where all those people were in the beginning of the season that said, hey, it's going to be a 3-year project. Did we all forget that it takes a few years to get this going? When AP took over this team, I mean, those with the reasonable mind know it's a 3-year project at least, at least 3 years. So I said, let's give AP another season. I want to give him 2 more, because where was all those birds that were chirping, saying, hey, it's going to take 3 seasons. It's a 3-year project. Hey, he's only done 1 year, and this is with no quarterback. Tremendous injuries that have altered games. Wilkinson, that's a big loss. And Max hasn't been 100% all season. Maybe the first 3-4 weeks, the guy goes a little bit too hard for his own good. And he needs to be a little bit smarter with his body, and so he can last the whole season. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say is just let's give AP another season or 2. I want some stability at the head coach position.
Ernest, thanks for the call. Appreciate you, and thanks for the kind words on the show as well. I appreciate that. It's not something that's going to get built overnight, right? I've backed up AP all season. Matter of fact, I've had a lot of people call in and slander me for backing up AP, but that's okay. I pounded the table for him while he was the interim coach. I'm not going to all of a sudden, flip script on him 13 weeks into the season or 15 weeks, where we are, going into week 16. Not going to all of a sudden be like, oh, he's got to go. He stinks. He's not a good coach. Look, I picked him, so I'm going to ride with him and give him an opportunity to get better. It doesn't look good for him. I can admit that, but, we'll see what happens at the end, at the end of the season. So that game on Monday clearly was not a good showing. It was not one of those that was a bright spot on the resume, that's for sure. But, Mark Davis hasn't given him the stamp of approval yet. He had an opportunity to at the owners' meetings in Dallas and didn't. He said that he was going to evaluate everything at the end of the season, and that's fair. What was he going to say? Hey, he stinks. He's going to get fired at the end of the season. Or, oh, yeah, man, he's fantastic. We're not going to make any kind of changes. I mean, there was nothing really he could say if he's trying to keep everything close to the vest. So there's that. But we'll see what happens. Again, if they decide to bring back AP next season, I have no problem with that, because I do think at some point he's going to be a really good coach. I just don't know if they have the patience, and I don't think Raider Nation, from what I'm hearing, has the patience to allow him to develop into that really good coach. But I never thought that he was going to be fantastic in year 1. Obviously, I didn't think they were going to only win 2 games in year 1. I thought the defense was going to be a lot better than what it has been, but there is what it is. So, Ernest, thanks so much for the call. I do appreciate you, and that's going to do it for today's show and do it for the week as well. And next time we'll talk will clearly be on Monday following the game on Sunday. Jacksonville Jaguars come to town. If you're coming to town or if you're in town, you're going to be at the game, meet me at the Torch. I'd love to chop it up with you, talk a little Raider football, and tell you and shake your hand and tell you how much I appreciate you listening to the show. So until Monday, Raider Nation, have a fantastic weekend. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.